My next story deals with oil. Now, I've caught some what's the word I'm looking for? Kickback, not kickback. What's the word I'm looking for? Pushback on oil. I've had some people tell me, well, you said it wasn't a good time to be in oil, and then I lost money because I didn't play oil. Well, let me tell you a couple of things right here. One, my job is not to tell you what stocks to buy or sell. My job in this session is to show you what stocks, what industries are making news, and from that information, we're going to analyze that information, but it's up to you to make a decision. Let me explain to you why I've been saying for the longest time that I was not ready to buy oil yet. All right, but I will explain why, if you're a little bit more aggressive, why it might have been okay to start buying oil. Overall, what drives oil higher? Well, demand. All right, demand is what drives oil prices higher. Notice right here, oil inventories rose by 8 million barrels. What does that mean? We got a lot more supply than we have demand. And because of the supply, what's oil going to do? Oil's going to fall some more. But wait a minute, Glenn. Oil's been on a tear. Oil's been running up. Why? Well, let me explain to you why it is. What happened most recently and over the last month with oil? You saw the contracts for, I believe, for May, either April or May, contracts closed at a negative number. Why? Well, that's because oil was falling and falling and falling and falling because why? We had so much supply of it. Supply makes oil prices fall. Demand is what makes oil prices rise. So, was I bullish or bearish on oil? I was still bearish. Here's my bear sound. Can you go through? I was still, huh? All right, so I was still bearish on oil because the demand was not there. So if I were a little bit more aggressive, why was I getting into oil? Because oil was a steal. Oil was at historically low levels, and the people who were jumping on oil were the people who were speculating that oil couldn't stay at that price for so long. And that's absolutely right. But if I'm going to talk to you in regards to what's going on in the market, I want confirmation of the move before I say, hey, you should consider buying the stock. I had no confirmation because there was an oversupply of oil. Am I ready to touch oil yet? Well, there's a couple of things going on. The oil producing countries have cut back on production. What is that going to create? Demand. Hasn't happened yet because we still have a glut of supply. So keeping that in mind, are you ready to say, well, you know, oil is so low, let me go put my order in now and buy it? If you do, keep in mind, there's no confirmation of demand yet, so you're going to put yourself in a situation where you could start losing money. Well, I would rather you be in a situation where something is moving and you got confirmation of the move before you buy it. That's my take. So oil inventories rose by 8 million barrels, which gives us a lot more glut of supply. Well, let's talk about that. Let's go back into the software. Let's go back to my watch list. I do have an indicator that we use for oil, which is W&T Offshore, WTI. Look at the price of the stock at 266, where the value is at 78 cents. Well, we overall want you to be in undervalued stocks. Well, this is an overvalued stock. All right. And what does that mean? It means people are willing to pay a premium. Why are so many people willing to pay a premium? Because oil is so low overall. So a lot of people have jumped up, driving the stock's price higher than its value. Let's analyze it a little bit more. Does oil have good upside? Well, relative value is an indicator cast on a scale between 0 and 2. Above 1 is favorable, below 1 is unfavorable. Well, RV tells me that this stock right now should not outperform a AAA corporate bond. Long term, I'm not ready to hold oil yet. Next indicator, relative safety. It's an indicator of risk for the stock. Relative safety looks at the consistency and predictability of a company's financial performance. Does this company meet or exceed earnings expectations quarter over quarter, year over year? Well, currently it's below the value of 1, unfavorable. Now, the only thing that's driving oil right now is that it's in an uptrend. RT looks at the short-term price trend of a stock. Well, above 1 is favorable. The higher above 1 it is, the higher bigger in an uptrend it is. So now, because the fundamentals on WTI are not there, but the technicals or relative timing tells me it's okay, what kind of person invests in oil right now? The analysis points it out. The more aggressive trader plays oil right now. So if you are a little bit more aggressive, oil is still a good play because oil is so cheap. But the upside potential is not there yet, and the safety factor is not there yet. If you're looking to be more prudent to conservative, I would still say to wait on oil. But if you want to be a little bit more aggressive, RT tells me that the stock is in an uptrend right now. For everybody in the room, I want to know, does that make sense to you? So that you get an understanding of where I stand on oil, and that is by way of the analysis. I want everybody in the room to type a yes or a no if it makes sense to you. If you're a little bit more aggressive, you can still play oil. If you're a little bit more prudent to conservative, you want more confirmation, and that confirmation will be demand. Is anybody answering in the room? Yes. Did anybody in the room say no? Excellent. So that is my feel. And anybody, you can agree with me or disagree with me, doesn't matter. I'm using the power of the VectorVest software to analyze what's going on with oil to give you a better understanding if it's for you or not for you. That is the purpose behind this. So the analysis tells me the demand is not there. The technicals or relative timing tells me if I want to be a little bit more aggressive, I can still play oil. All right. With that, any questions, Joey?
How do you get VVC to view and Watchlist viewer?
All right, so the question is, how do I get the VVC in the Watchlist viewer? Where it says right here, add symbols, simply type in the symbol VVC. All right, and that will now add the VVC, which is part of our market timing, as a ticker symbol to your watch list. Any other questions, Joey?
What concern should we place on the very high MTI?
Question is, what concern should we place on the very high MTI? Let's do this real quick because that's a good point. Relative to the MTI, when it gets to a level of 1.5 to 1.6, the market is looking at a point of being overbought. So where are we right now? By way of the MTI, we could be getting to a toppy level, but keep in mind, this is a little different type of scenario in that the market is coming out of a pandemic phase. The market still has some upside. But if I go back to the graph that we looked at earlier, the market timing graph, I'm going to go put it on the market timing graph right now. Here's the market timing graph. Look at that rebound. We got almost a V-shaped bottom, but not quite. Market's moving up. Market's definitely moving up. With the high MTI, are we saying right now that we're getting to a level of a top? Well, this is where the bottom was, and that was on March 23rd. Where are we at? March, April, May? We are 2 months coming off of the bottom. Could we be getting to a toppy level already? It could be. The MTI is telling you that. So my concern, if anything, as you start to continue to buy new stocks, just do it cautiously because the MTI is high. All right? And I want everybody in the room to type on all of their social media, hashtag I on MTI. Type it in the room if you want, because that MTI, that's a great question. That MTI is a level of telling you when the market is overbought. So looking at that at 1.72, it's not at historically high levels, but it is at a level. And guess what? The market rebounded off of that March 23rd low coming off the pandemic. It makes sense. But if you're still going to buy stocks right now, good, buy them, but just keep your eye on the MTI. Did anybody put hashtag I on MTI in the room? No? You guys are not listening. No, I want hashtag, follow instructions. Badger did it. Hashtag I on MTI. That was a great question, by the way, about the MTI, huh?
Be like Badger.
Be like Badger and put hashtag I on MTI. All right, any other questions? One more question. What?
How high can MTI go?
All the way up to 2. All right, how high can the MTI go? The MTI is cast on a scale between 0 and 2. All of our proprietary indicators are on that scale between 0 and 2. I'll take one more question, Joey. You have one more?
With all of the market ups and downs, how do you know when the best to sell?
All right, so the question is, with the market, with all of the ups and downs in the market, how do you know the best to sell? So I'm gonna take you back to the home page again, real quick, because as a subscriber, you're never without this information. All right, once we start to get to a toppy level, we'll start telling you that in the daily color guard, number one. Number two, you will see the market start to roll over. You'll watch our indicators. You'll watch our indicators, whether it's the MTI or the buy to sell ratio or RT, start to roll over. Notice that these indicators are still rising. All right, once they start leveling off and start pulling back a little bit, that is your sign, so to speak, that the market is getting to a level where it's getting toppy. The MTI tells you that you're getting there, but nothing by way of a graph is telling you that yet. But because the MTI is as high as it is, just invest and do it cautiously. All right, can I move on or no?
I have more.
A lot more? All right, go ahead, real quick, as long as they're quick, please.
One question, good time to be in the market, but NASDAQ has been trending down. Can you be more specific about buying opportunities to buy stock in the NASDAQ when it was trending down?
All right, so the NASDAQ, keep in mind, buying opportunities with the NASDAQ running down. Keep in mind, remember, the NASDAQ tracks about 4,300 stocks, very tech heavy. All right, when I'm looking at a true market timing test, this is why we look at indicators like the VectorVest composite. This is why. It tracks over 8,100 stocks. So if I want to look at the NASDAQ, what do I look at? I look at the Qs. All right, and even the Qs, you're telling me the Qs are running. That's the NASDAQ. All right, the Qs are still running. Now, I do see that, look at right now, what are the Qs starting to do? Starting to move a little sideways. Oh, darn. The Qs are starting to move a little sideways right now. But if I go back to the market timing graph, looking at our VVC, we're still moving higher. That is the difference right here between looking at 8,100 stocks and looking at 4,300 stocks that are very tech heavy. Hopefully that makes sense. So from a market timing perspective, I'm going to put my faith more so in 8,100 stocks than 4,300 stocks. Hopefully that answers your question about the NASDAQ. All right, so good question about the NASDAQ, but hopefully it now pushes the point home about why we use the VectorVest composite. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Now, if you're new to the software or would like refresher information about the software, click on this Getting Started video right here. Thanks to all of your input, here's a YouTube video that we think would be perfect for you. Click right here. If nothing else, folks, just hit the subscribe button right here.